Hello everybody, welcome back to Rosie TV. Today we are going to be reviewing all of this week's Champions League action. Starting off with Juventus' 3-0 win against Barcelona. Now when I previewed this game, I thought that Luis Enrique was going to come into this game playing the 3-4-3 formation that he's been playing most of this season, or at least against PSG in that historic comeback game. But he opted for a 4-3-3 with Sergio Busquets' injury, and he also decided to put Javier Mascherano in defensive midfield. So that was a good decision on paper, but one big decision that Luis Enrique made that I really didn't like was Jeremy Mathieu at left back. Mathieu was brought in from Valencia a few seasons ago, but you can clearly see he's not good enough to play in this team. So I don't understand why they still have him in this team many years later. But when you look at the subs for this game, you see that Jordi Alba is on the bench. And you could clearly see Mathieu had no idea how to mark Cuadrado. Cuadrado squares it to Paulo Dybala, who has a fantastic turn, shoots on goal, and it's already 1-0. For the second goal, it wasn't that much different. This time, Mario Mandzukic is running down the left flank. He gives a pass right inside to Paulo Dybala, who pings it first time, and it beats Ter Stegen at his near post. You could say he probably should do better than that, but Paulo Dybala's finish was fantastic. And as for Paulo Dybala, all of us huge Serie A fans know how good he is, but now he has exposed himself to all of Europe, and now it might be extremely difficult for Juventus to keep hold of him, because you know Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, all these huge teams are going to be swarming around like sharks. Now going to the half, Barcelona are 2-0 down, so Enrique decides to change the formation. He takes out Jeremy Mathieu and he puts on Andre Gomes, but that doesn't stop Giorgio Chiellini from getting a headed goal from a set piece. Javier Mascherano is guarding him, and Javier Mascherano has never been known to be good in the air, but Chiellini makes it 3-0 for Juventus, and now it looks very similar to the PSG-Barcelona game, where PSG dismantled them 4-0. But I think a big difference with this game and that game was that Barcelona actually had chances. The first big chance for Barcelona that comes to mind was that amazing Messi pass to Andres Iniesta, who didn't have the best shot, but Gigi Buffon came up huge, as he usually does. Suarez also had a chance as well, but it wasn't a good finish at all, and it didn't even end up on target. I thought Suarez and Neymar were very quiet during this game, which is surprising, especially for Neymar, because he had such a big game against PSG in that 6-1 win. He was kept at bay by Dani Alves, and although Dani Alves is sometimes known as a defensive liability, in this game he clearly had a point to prove, and boy did he prove that point. He was aggressive, he was defensive when he needed to be, he was attacking when he needed to be. It was a very disciplined performance from a very experienced player. As for Messi, I actually thought he was the best player for Barcelona. Against PSG in that first leg, he was horrendous. He literally did nothing that game. But this game, he actually created a lot of chances, and he was just let down by his teammates. So I think Messi gets a free pass for this one, because he actually did very well in this game. I also thought the midfield was very poor. Rakitic wasn't very good. Mascherano made a few mistakes. And Andres Iniesta, you could clearly see that age has definitely gotten to him, especially this season. If Barcelona want any success in the future, they absolutely need to get a replacement this summer. I'm talking about someone like Marco Verratti or someone within that caliber. Thiago Alcantara, bring him back to the club, because that position is very important, and Andres Iniesta just cannot do it anymore. He is one of the greats of the game, but Father Time has officially gotten to Andres Iniesta. As for Juventus, I thought their whole back five was fantastic. Dani Alves, he kept Neymar at bay. Bonucci was no nonsense. He cleared it out when it needed to be cleared out. Giorgio Chiellini, great defender, but also that goal was huge for Juventus, giving them a huge lead going to the new camp. And Alex Sandro, this player has been so good this season. And although Messi did have a good game in a chance creation sense, in an attacking sense, he didn't really do much, and that was because of Alex Sandro. I already highlighted Paulo Dybala's amazing performance, but another performance that I really liked was Mario Mandzukic. Now, this player last season and his whole career has always been a good striker, But now that he's a winger, he's definitely a lot better and a lot more valuable to his team. A lot of strikers can score 12 to 15 goals, which is a tally you'll get out of Mandzukic when he's up top. But not many wingers can attack as well as defend like Mario Mandzukic. He's such a big asset for this team. And for that, you're going to have to give Max Allegri all the credit because he's the one who found Mandzukic's perfect position. As for the second leg at the new camp, Barcelona, to tie it up, are going to have to score 3 goals. And if they want to win it, they're going to have to score 4 goals against this great Juventus defense. Now, we all know about that amazing comeback in the round of 16 against PSG, but Juve are a different monster. They're a much better defensive team than PSG. And let's not forget, Juventus are still an Italian team at the end of the day. And if any Italian team knows how to kill off a game, it's going to be Juventus. For that second leg, I'm going to go ahead and say Barcelona win 2-1, but it's not going to be enough. Moving on to the Dortmund-Monaco game. This was supposed to be played Tuesday, but there were some explosions near the Dortmund team bus, which caused them to delay the game to Wednesday morning. I think it's extremely ridiculous that the Dortmund players had to play this game. Why couldn't it have been postponed to later on in the week, or maybe even next week for the first leg? Because at the end of the day, these people's lives are bigger than football. You could tell their heads were not in it. And I thought it was extremely selfish by UEFA by only postponing the game to the next day. However, this game was a great game. It ended 3-2 for Monaco away from home, which is a huge accomplishment because Dortmund are so good at home. And honestly, it could have been even more. Fabinho missed that first half penalty, which could have given them 4 away goals going into the Principality. But right after that penalty, Mbappe opened up the scoring, and it looked offside to me, and it wasn't the best finish. It kind of just like hit off of him and it went in. Just to put salt on the wound, before halftime, Sven Bender had a horrendous own goal, and then he acted like he was fouled, but he wasn't even touched. It was a terrible own goal. It looked like he deliberately put it in the back of his own net. But in the second half, especially after the introduction of Christian Pulisic, who was fantastic in this game, the game changed completely, and Dortmund definitely had the upper hand in that second half. Ousmane Dembele got them a goal back after Aubameyang's fantastic flick. That was just something of beauty, which went into Kagawa's direction, who passed it to Dembele, who had an empty net. He made it 2-1. And for the rest of the game, Dortmund were pressuring Monaco, but it just took one mistake as Lucas Piszczek had a poor pass that Mbappe pickpocketed, and he went on to have a great finish. He made it 3-1 for Monaco, and this kid is fantastic. I know a lot of people are saying the same thing, but he has 21 goals this season, 5 assists. That is something amazing for an 18-year-old. His numbers are close to world class, and he's definitely came up big in the big Champions League games against Manchester City and now against Dortmund. But moving on, after Mbappe's goal, it looked like it was going to be done, which would have been very difficult for Dortmund to try to make a comeback. But Shinji Kagawa scored. He was, I think, very good in this game. He had 1 goal and 1 assist, and it's good to see him playing well after his career didn't really go in the right direction after he moved to Man United. This game ended 3-2. Monaco have 3 away goals going into the Principality. And for that game, I'm actually going to predict another 3-2 win for Monaco. I just think Monaco's attack is just too much for Dortmund. Moving on to the next huge game of the week, Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid at the Allianz Arena. It ended 2-1 for Real Madrid, but in the first half, it was all Bayern Munich. Arturo Vidal opened up the scoring with a header from a Thiago Alcantara corner, and he could have even made it 2-0 before the half, but he skied his penalty, and if that went in, that could have changed the whole dynamic of the game. Real Madrid would have been 2-0 down at halftime, and they probably wouldn't have made that comeback that they did. Nonetheless, I thought Vidal actually had a fantastic game. Besides that penalty miss, he scored a goal. He was all over the place. He was winning tackles. He was starting plays. And this is definitely why Vidal is the best box-to-box midfielder in the world. And just to punish Arturo Vidal's penalty miss, Cristiano Ronaldo scores in the 47th minute. It was a great finish from a Dani Carvajal cross as he scored his 99th goal in European competition. But what really changed the dynamic of the game was Javi Martinez's sending off in the 60th minute. He had two very silly fouls on Cristiano Ronaldo, and now Bayern were forced to play with 10 men. After the sending off, it was all Real Madrid. Real Madrid outpossessed Bayern Munich, and they had 10 more total shots than them. But there was one reason and one reason only why the game wasn't a blowout, and that was Manuel Neuer's heroic performance in goal. He made a total of 10 saves, and there's no debate over who's the best goalkeeper in the world currently. But Neuer couldn't keep saving Bayern Munich as Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 100th goal in European competition in the 77th minute. Gareth Bale was subbed off and Marco Asensio came in. He assisted that goal for Ronaldo, and Bale had a very poor performance. He didn't really do much in this game, but Asensio, with the limited time he had on the pitch, assisted Ronaldo's goal with a fantastic ball in, and it went through Neuer's legs, and that's just unlucky. I don't really blame Manuel Neuer, and you can't really blame Manuel Neuer after he had a fantastic performance. If it wasn't for him, it could have been 4 or 5-1. It could have been a demolition, but at least Bayern still have a chance going into the Bernabeu. Ronaldo was the main man of the night, but he did also have a heavy touch a few times, but you can't really blame him. He scored 2 goals at the end of the day. He hasn't been in the most amazing form for his standards, but he got it done here in a huge game. But Ronaldo's great performance is definitely overshadowing Casemiro's fantastic performance. He won 7 out of 9 tackles, and a lot of times he was neutralizing Bayern Munich's attack. I've heard from a lot of people over the past few months that Casemiro is just a Brazilian Coquelin, which really gets on my nerves because Casemiro has been fantastic for Real Madrid for the past 2 seasons. He's one of the biggest reasons why they won the Champions League last year. And he's also starting for a Real Madrid team that is so hard to start for, as well as being a Brazilian international and a starter for the Seleção, which Coquelin, we can't say the same for him. He doesn't play for France. And recently, he hasn't even been getting games for Arsenal. As for Bayern Munich, they did miss Lewandowski up front. Thomas Müller didn't really do the job. He didn't really have much touches of the ball, especially after that Javi Martinez sending off. And with Real Madrid getting 2 away goals here against Bayern Munich, it's going to be really hard for Bayern Munich to make a comeback. They're going to need to win at least 2-0. And what I've realized about Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid is that sometimes they're defensively suspect against the smaller teams, but in the bigger games, they always tend to show up. They were extremely solid at the back, and they only conceded 1 goal, and that was from a Vidal header off of a set piece. So in open play, they were flawless. As for the second leg, I'm going to predict Bayern Munich win 2-1 at the Bernabeu. I just think they're a different monster when Lewandowski's in that lineup, and maybe even Hummels is back. I just think this game is way too close to call. I think this game is going to end up going to penalties in the second leg. Finally, we're going to end on Atletico Madrid versus Leicester. This ended 1-0 for Atletico Madrid after a Griezmann penalty. The replay showed that this penalty was not in the box. It was wrongfully given, but Griezmann converted that penalty, which will do wonders for his confidence because over the past year and a half, he's missed a lot of big penalties in big games. I'm not surprised at this scoreline. Atletico Madrid are not ones to score many goals, but they also kept Leicester at bay. And looking at the stats for this game, Jamie Vardy had a horrendous performance. He completed 1 out of 3 passes attempted. I think this is going to be a very interesting game going into the King Power Stadium, but I'm also going to say Atletico Madrid win 1-0 to go on to the semifinals. Before I end this video, I want to talk about the penalty decisions this week in the Champions League. Out of the 4 games, there were 3 huge penalty calls that, in my opinion, I think were all incorrect. In the Monaco game, they called the penalty for Socrates' foul on Mbappe, but I don't think it was a foul. I think he was just going shoulder to shoulder with him. In the Real Madrid-Bayern Munich game, they said that Carvajal had handled the ball, but it clearly just went on his shoulder. And finally, in the Atletico Madrid-Leicester game, we already discussed Griezmann's penalty wasn't really a penalty. He was fouled outside of the box. Now, these are 3 huge Champions League quarter-final games, and this is exactly why we need replays in football. It doesn't delay the game at all. It's only, 30-second, 40-second delay, but it prevents a huge wrong decision in a big game. So I think that UEFA and FIFA need to get on it. Give us video replays. It's going to help the referees a ton. Tell me what you think about all of these games in the comment section below. Also, give me your predictions for the second legs for next week. I will be doing another review next week as well. Please like, share, and subscribe for more football content. And thank you for watching Rosie TV.